I did a podcast yesterday. Had a lot of fun with Hale. He does a podcast on letting go and the greatest secret, and it kind of centers around his work with the author of the book, The Secret and the Greatest Secret. And we spent most of the time talking about my book, and but it was just a lot of fun. We ended up laughing through most of it, which is always cool. And I'm going to do video in a little bit about taking things seriously and humor and the left and right sides of the brain. I actually started off these videos with the left side of the brain taking things very seriously. And that seems like a little while ago now. But one of the questions I get, and so after doing the video, I thought we were going to talk more about getting into the flow, sort of the Zen master thing, you know? I mean, nothing can disturb a Zen master. It seems like no matter what happens around them, they respond right with the flow. They don't get flustered. They don't get embarrassed. They don't resist what's happening. It's as if it was all to happen exactly as it was supposed to. And so I'm going to address these two questions with really putting an emphasis on attention. And if you know the American philosopher, psychologist William James, I'm paraphrasing, but he said one of the hallmarks of an excellent education is to practice the art of attention. And that's one of the things that seems to almost be completely absent in the curriculum. We're working on it in the sense that if you take a class on mindfulness, you're practicing attention. And attention, again, it's just like breathing. You can do it automatically. You're not going to die. But you can also learn to bring it under your voluntary control. Same thing with attention. You will attend to things automatically and you ignore other things, but you can work on it. And again, that's what you do when you meditate. You have intrusive thoughts, you gently bring it back to the breath or whatever it is you're meditating on. So let's deal with going with the flow. And so imagine you have a presentation or, you're on a podcast or you're on a first date maybe, or you're playing your guitar, but you're at the actual guitar store, or maybe you're playing out and people are watching. And of course, the whole trick is to play as well as you naturally play, be yourself. Have the same kind of conversation as if you knew this person your whole life. But then we find ourselves, that's where we're not the Zen master. We get stuck, we get flustered, and we're trying so much to be ourselves that we're not ourselves, because if we were ourselves, we wouldn't have to try. And so the hint with this goes back to attention, because whenever you're, say, playing your guitar and you're by yourself, your attention is completely focused on the guitar. And so maybe you play at your best. But whether it's a first date or an interview, what happens is we get off track. Our attention goes from what we're doing and being very mindful, so we got peak performance, to creating a little scenario in our head. We start thinking and evaluating to what degree we're being impressive, or judging how well we're being judged. You create a little symbol, a little representation of that person. And you might get away with it if it's like 10%, 20% of your attention. But of course, the problem is if you screw something up, and then all of a sudden that goes to 80% of your attention, leaving almost nothing for the task. And then you are now no longer the Zen master. You are, the disaster that's just falling apart in front of the person. And, it doesn't matter if you're on a date or at an interview or at the guitar store. So many memes I see on guitar where people say me playing by myself and me playing in front of others. And so this is really something that hits us across the whole human spectrum. And it's because we're creating an image of what others are thinking of us. Are we impressing them? Do we screw up? And then that becomes so much the object of our attention, we're no longer doing what we're doing. So how do you fix this? Well, actually, you practice attention. And so you'll start having that image in your head. Did this person think? Are they impressed? They thought that joke was really funny, or whatever. Bring it back to reality. Get out of your head, get out of your thinking, and get out as early as you can. Get back to the object of what you're doing. Now that kind of trivializes how difficult that can be. I understand that. And the reason is because we have so little practice with actual attention. But attention is just like anything else. It's like if I'm doing this video and I say, well, just go jog a mile, okay. But if I said, let's go out and jog a marathon, it's not a matter of will. It's just a matter of practice. And so that's the same thing that's happening here. When I say take your attention and pull it back to the conversation, pull it back to the other person, or pull it back to the music. What I'm saying is you may have to do that in very, very small moves. In fact, one of the themes in the new book is working on making small moves, because a lot of times we feel failure because we just go out and try to do the marathon and we can't. And because we've had so little work with attention, it's very easy for us to fail, particularly when we do something, we're on the date or interview and we start creating that little imaginary scenario, and then it can feel hard to bring it back to the actual world as it is, but you have to do it in small moves. You can't just take the marathon the first day. The other topic, and this is what I thought we were going to talk a little bit more about, and it's just because the conversation didn't go there, is letting go. It's one of the biggest questions I get, because rumination is such a strong factor in depression and anxiety. And of course, that's the opposite of letting go. Something happens and you create this little image in your head. And then the image in your head keeps replaying the event over and over again. And you say, well, I'm trying and I can't let go. Well, there's another little trick of attention here. What if you can't let go? I mean, you're trying so hard to let go. What if you're trying to let go is the not letting go? And so what if you just let it play out, but you use attention with that? And what I mean by that is the same thing I was talking about just a few minutes ago. You bring it back to what you're doing. And so if some tragedy or sometimes it's really something small, some stranger yells at you and then you just keep replaying it. You're like, why can't I just let this go? Well, you have to remember the brain is hardwired to overemphasize things that are negative for our survival. And so it may continuously replay this just as part of its computer programming. And so that part of you may not be able to let go. But in that recognition that it's just simply not going to be possible, you at least stop fighting to try to let go. And in some cases, maybe it's just impossible. So you let go with the realization that you can't, and which is to say not you, but this little neuromodule simply is not going to let it go. So it's going to replay the event over and over. But you, as awareness, can practice attention, making small moves, and just bring it back to what you're doing. And where are you? When are you? Bring it back to reality. And maybe that'll help a little bit with going with the flow and letting go.